Number 12, anonymous question. What should a Christian wife do if her husband doesn't want to work on their marriage? Expects her to do almost everything when it comes to responsibilities and doesn't provide enough needs. Um, uh, you, there's probably 100 things you should do, to be completely honest with you. I'm going to give you some advice here, and some of it's going to be pleasant, and some of it's going to be maybe unpleasant, and some of it maybe you've heard before, and you might think, I already know that, Mike, whatever I'm about to tell you. All that being said, this is a super vague scenario. And so I have to be careful how I give advice to vague scenarios, because my advice could be destructive in your life, right? The Christian wife, what do? If your husband doesn't want to work on your marriage, he expects you to do almost everything when it comes to responsibilities and doesn't provide enough for needs. I don't know what needs are. I don't know what the provision is. I don't know what the response from the husband would be to say, like, well, you're missing this or you're ignoring that. I don't know any of those things. So as a counselor, it's reckless for me to come in there and give counsel and advice. A lot of people today would be like, divorce him, drop him, make an ultimatum, do that. And I'm just saying, I'm throwing a wrecking ball into a marriage I know nothing about. So that being said, I can only default to general principles when I have more general information. And general principles are, first things first, you are a Christian before you're a wife. Before you're a wife, you're a Christian. You are a daughter of God. You are a follower of Jesus Christ. And you seek to honor Christ in your marriage even more than your husband. You seek to honor him, your Savior, more than anything that's going on with your husband. And so this is the call, and I know we fall short all the time. I fall short. My call is to love my wife as Christ loved the church, because of Christ, not because of her. And so even if my wife was to fail in all her responsibilities, I'm still supposed to love her. And I failed in this so many times, but this is the call, and I refuse to lower the call to match my behavior, right? I'm going to reach my behavior up towards the call and never bring the call down. Your call is to love, is to respect, and is to honor your husband for the sake of Christ. That's the number one thing. This is about you and God. This isn't about you and your husband. There's more, though. It's entirely appropriate, like Matthew 18 says, when your brother sins against you, and this applies to you, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between the two of you. If your husband's doing these things, it is entirely appropriate for you to go and tell him what's going on between the two of you and say, this is wrong. Husband, I love you. Like, I've got the plank out of my eye. I love you. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. But you're doing what's wrong. You're doing wrong to me, and it needs to change. This doesn't mean it will work, because you can never control someone else's behavior, someone else's interactions. You just can't control them. So you can only do your part, but there's no special formula of words that will make your husband behave better. And there's no special scenario where you can just cause his behavior to change. You can only control your own behavior. This is the sad and glorious reality of life, because what it means is that in all the scenarios of life, you're actually focusing on discipleship, not just on changing other people in your circumstances, but in honoring Christ in what you're going through. Now, if things are really extreme, like especially if he won't listen to you, you've probably tried talking to him before, but if you come humbly, and if you come with no plank in your eye and there's still no receptivity, I say Matthew 18, go bring another. Especially if your husband's part of a church, bring someone else in and invite them in. Hey, godly person, you need to come in and help me with this. This is unacceptable behavior, and I need my husband to change. I can't make him, but I do need it. Bring them in, read Matthew 18 and follow those steps. I pray that God gives you wisdom. I really do pray that God gives you wisdom. For me, when I feel that I'm being wronged in my marriage, the most difficult thing and the thing I work on the most is trying to get past my own anger and my own bitterness before I address those issues with my spouse. And that's going to be the hardest hurdle for me, for many people. I recommend that's what you start with. First, get the plank out of your eye. And then it's okay to go to them and talk to them about the other issues. So Lord help you. Sorry, I can't be of more service.